Okay, here's the summary of T-Shift Vancouver 2013. This is the second time I'm recording this because the first time I think my microphone was a little bit far away from my mouth and it was very quiet. So hopefully now it's very close and very loud, because I think before some people were complaining about sometimes my videos are a little quiet. I also have a sleeping baby upstairs, so gotta deal with that. So here's a picture of some of the winners. Anyway, I'm going to talk a bit about the tournament itself and how it was run. Got to do a big thanks to Zen, Alex, and Kaylin for running the event. They did a pretty good job for the first Vancouver event. Zen's run a few of the Seattle events, I believe. I think that's kind of his deal. But he came up from Seattle to help Alex run this one. And Kaylin, Alex did the X-Wing, Kaylin did Fantasy, and Zen ran the 40K. So yeah, my biggest complaints, or not really complaints, but criticisms, I guess, was the schedule for the day. 2 days was a little bit awkward. There was 2.5 or I think 3 hours for each game, which was great for the slow players, and believe me, some players actually took the 3 hours to do their game. Also great for someone like me who's doing battle reports, but there was a lot of times where I was sitting around twiddling my thumbs. I guess it was kind of good for charging my iPhone as well, even though in the last game I kind of got carried away with the drinks and forgot to charge it and didn't really check the battery until the last minute, saying, oh shit, I'm at 2%. I'm not going to be able to take all the photos I want of this battle report. But hopefully you guys won't mind. It was also a little bit early. I had to wake up at 7 a.m., which I haven't done since I was at work last, before my child was born. And I'm not looking forward to going back to that, by the way. But it's got to happen. Here's a funny picture of Zane, someone who recently got back into fantasy, and he'll be going to the next few fantasy events too, which is pretty cool. Always good to see more people getting into it. As for attendance, there was 20 people, and I think, yeah, much less for 40K, as I said in the preview video. So yeah, there was a good variation of armies. There was almost one of everything. I think I was in the Empire. There was one Skaven, Bretonnians, no Wood Elves, obviously a few Warriors, maybe one Demons, one or two, Dark Elves, High Elves, no Dwarves either, but no one misses Dwarves. And John bringing up the rear with Tomb Kings. John won a X-Wing starter set. The people that came in last place got X-Wing, so congrats, John. I think he still had fun, though. He's a great guy. Takes it in stride. So, on to... Oh, one more thing I want to thank the TOs for is they bought everyone a drink at the end, on the house. One round of drinks for everyone, just for coming out, which was sweet. Also, the prizes were pretty cool. The trophies were really well done, really nice looking, great pieces to put on your mantle, or collect dust somewhere else, but I wish I got one. It's alright, I was pretty happy with the way I did. Overall, I placed 6th, and I'll just go into a brief summary of all my games. So game 1 against Todd and his Warriors, I'm not used to facing any army that doesn't have a level 4, but I understand he was sticking with the Khorne theme, which, you know, kudos to him for not taking the level 4. I think he still did pretty well, all things considered, but in my opinion, Warriors is actually a really good matchup for Empire because we have the tools to really pick them apart, focus down one thing, get rid of it each turn, and by the time they get to you, they're really reduced. And as Anthony from Sustainable Center says, if you're Warriors and you're not in combat, you're losing. So, yeah, I don't know. I think underestimating the Demigriffs with the Chimera was a mistake, but, you know, if you haven't seen that fight before, only one way to find out. So, yeah, just cannons and Hellblasters are really good at taking out the high armor, low model count Warriors of Chaos armies. So I'm pretty comfortable going into those kind of matchups. Another thing I wouldn't do is charge Demigriffs into the War Altar again, Chaos Altar again, because if I hadn't got a flank charge and he hadn't got unlucky with his leadership, yeah, I think he would have killed my demigriffs eventually with that 3+ ward. That's what he said it was. I'm not sure if that's the truth or if it's only in combat or something, but 3+ ward is pretty fucking good. So into game 2 with Dale Johnson, that was a learning experience if I ever saw one. I just fucked up. I should have targeted the bolt throwers first instead of the lion chariots. I guess my thinking was the lion chariots are worth more points, so before any of my cannons died, I wanted to make sure that I got the points for them. Also, the phoenix, not getting the phoenix that one round. Just be specific. If state things so they're just stupidly clear before you roll any dice. And then that game would have got a lot different. The Frostheart wouldn't have charged the demigriffs. I could have redirected his white lions all day. I would still have 2 Hellblasters at the end of the game, most likely. And yeah, just again, moving up is another thing I shouldn't have done. I think staying back would have been great. I had the range on him, and I probably could have just sat out a range of his bolt throwers with my entire army and made him come to me. Too bad I didn't get Comet in that matchup, though. In round 3, I really learned from my mistake the previous game and shot the bolt throwers first. After that, he had nothing of range to compete with my range stuff, and I just sat back, played conservative, fled charges, and made him come to me into Hellblaster range and shot his shit up, I guess. I know it must not be fun getting shot. I'm going to experience it when I play Bretonnians and Ogres and stuff, and other things that I'm planning on doing. So yeah, that was a good game. Shane's a good player, good guy. I've actually faced him in a tournament a long time ago, and he beat me, so a little bit of revenge here. Round 4 against Vern, it was a good game. He's a really good player, very calculating, takes his time to think about things. Yeah, as I said, not many mistakes. I think, again, I should have stayed back. In that situation, it's really hard with the Comet, so I think it was just a bad matchup for me. His army's pretty good at dealing with mine, but it just kind of sucks to be so far ahead, and then bam, Comet, and then a bull rush forward, and holy crap, huge swing back in his favor. The second Iron Blaster failing leadership with a rerollable and fleeing off the board was pretty unlucky, gotta say. And also the Butcher and Lead Belchers losing combat to the Knight. Another thing about that game that I realized after was I think I would have got the secondary objective, or secondary mission for holding more objectives. The way we did it was a draw because he contested and scored the same amount as I did, but he contested with a character against my demigriff, and you can't contest with characters, monsters, swarms, or ethereal units or something like that. So actually I would have had that point, but doesn't really matter. It doesn't change the results of the tournament. I wouldn't have been very much ahead. I think that would have got me another 6 points, which was still about 10 points or so behind the person who got the best overall. And game 5, another good game against Peter. I gave him my best opponent vote because he's just really fun to play against. He's a quirky guy. He's obnoxious. He's an asshole, but he's, all in good fun. Very lightheartedly about it. And he's always got a good mood, even if he's getting his ass handed to him, or if shit's dying, shit's getting cannoned off. Not to say that I handed his ass to him, because I didn't. It was actually only about 300 points or 400 points difference. But yeah, he's just always upbeat. Very loud. Most of the guys from his club are pretty loud, which I'm not altogether used to. But yeah, it's funny. He's a funny guy. So great game there. I think I didn't make any mistakes other than maybe charging the knights into the flank of his Scarvet that was fighting my steam tank. But then they held him there for a couple turns, actually, so I don't know if it was a mistake or not. If they hadn't been there, he probably would have got a charge on either them or one of my artillery pieces anyway. Or, even worse, possibly my archer unit with my level 4 and the 2 engineers. So, maybe it was better that I kept my chaff knights in there. Yeah, 6 overall. Not too shabby, I think. Pretty good for my second tournament that I've really, or I guess third tournament or fourth this year. But this was the first time I used this list. I think I'll take this list again to maybe a couple other events that are coming up if they're 2,500 points or more. So that was a summary of T-Shift. They're planning on doing another tournament next year that I definitely will attend because I had a lot of fun. One thing I gotta bring up is that I brought up in the preview a little bit is the kind of tension between some of the TOs in the area that I really want to dissipate because I think it's really harmful for our community. There was word of some TOs telling people not to attend T-Shift just because it's stupid, and I think that's why we saw not so many 40K signups. There was only about like 8 people, which is pretty bad for a tournament that's based around 40K. But there was still 20 signups for fantasy, so I think some players put the beef aside, I guess, and came out and had a good time. I don't think anyone had a bad time, so that was really cool. And yeah, in January, if anyone's interested, they'll be doing another tournament in Seattle, Washington. So I won't be able to go and make it to that as I'll be back at work at that time. But I have signed up for a few other tournaments that I'm going to spill the beans on right now. The next tournament I'm going to is at a local hobby store called Drexel Games. It's a War Machine tournament, so gotta give some love to War Machine fans. It's 3 rounds, 2 lists, 50 points, so I'll probably have a preview of that out next week sometime, and some pictures of the armies I'll be taking. The next tournament after that is Food Hammer at Game Stars, which is about an hour drive away, and that's 2,000 points Warhammer Fantasy. So that'll be pretty fun. And I've signed up for probably the biggest event, biggest con in BC, which is called GodaCon, and I'm bringing Warhammer Fantasy to that. So that will be in early March. There may be a couple tournaments between Foodhammer and GodaCon. I think there's definitely a War Machine event at Strategies Games that I'll be going to in January, though there's no specific date yet. And there may be a 3,000 point War Machine tournament held by one of the local tournament organizers. It's called Iron Brush, so I'll keep you posted on all that stuff. Thanks for watching.